Hey BocaJS members, this is Damian Montero. I'm your co-organizer, original organizer, and wanted to share with you something that a couple of you guys have been asking about. So you have this great idea. You go and buy a domain name. Well, that's easy enough. Plenty of places to do that. And you want to sort of put up a basic website up. You understand completely the adage that says the enemy of success is perfection. So you want to get something up there so that people can start looking at your domain name, looking at who you are as you build the product or build the success that you're going to be building up there. So here we are. I was courteously honored to be part of what the amazing Robin DeLise here has been in charge of, which is this sort of instant access. There were 120 people that simply showed up the second that she posted this particular pink strip party for the Magic Leapers that were let go, all 1,000 of them. And instantly, 100 people signed up, and we had a great conversation over Zoom, and there were a lot of people that were looking out for you. And we realized, me and Robin, that there was a success to be happening, and that we should do something about it. So just in case you don't know who I'm talking about, is Robin DeLise here. Do look her up on Meetup, on LinkedIn. She's a great resource to help you with your resume and other information. But what you want to know is what happens. She came to me and she says, Damian, I want to make this sort of a fruitful, an event page. And so I said, well, you need to be able to help people by having them sign up and be able to provide that information to other companies or have a list of companies, et cetera, et cetera. So we started bouncing ideas back and forth, but she really wanted sort of a name to stand by. And so the next Friday, she will be able to go ahead and say, okay, we'll just simply go to this website and say, fill in the form on the left-hand side. And the form on the left-hand side could simply be, for now, a Google Forms account. And then in the future, this could, evolve to something better. That way, she's able to start right away and test if this is a good idea. So she chose this particular domain name. Here I am on the DNS, and you yourself say, perfect. You grab the DNS, you go to GoDaddy, you give them another $10 or $20 a month, and you host it, and then you get someone from Fiverr or a friend of yours to get this wonderful concept, wonderful website created, and then 4 months later, that's a problem. That's a problem right there. So what I'm going to show you is what I normally do with these type of informations. I say, do you have an idea? Perfect. Give me access to your domain name. I promise not to change anything with it. Let's go ahead and get something up as quickly as possible, as quickly as for you and me having a little quick meetup, and before my cappuccino gets cold in Starbucks, or at this moment, because of the coronavirus, my cheap little drink here, before it gets warm, we're up and running. So what do we do with that? What can we do to make a website? Just a knock over Hello World website? No, let's look at it a little bit more sophisticated. One of these great resources that I found is the HTML up. If you go to the basic website, what it is a bunch of templates. Now, I know you've heard of templates before, but these are completely free templates with a complete honor from them to say, please use them. They are fantastic, easy to use templates. You can go out and buy a $50 template, but you've already spent $5, $10, maybe $15 on that domain name. That's plenty enough for the rest of the year. Let's do the rest of the things free. So I'm going to show you how to get the content and the hosting for free. Let's do that. First of all, we have several to choose from in this case. I'm not going to go through it too much about it. You're going to go through it a lot. I'm going to just simply choose the first one. It's a good one. I'm going to click on the live demo here. I'm going to look at this particular template, this particular look, and I can click on the top left-hand side and choose things like, what does it look like on a mobile? What does it look like on a desktop? And I'm like, that's perfectly fine for me. You can picture it, everything below that sort of pair line, that gray bar above, it's not going to be there, and it's going to be in the bottom. Just one caveat. There's pictures here of this beautiful young lady, and a great number of pictures that you will see in this and many other templates do not come with this. This is a free template, but that's all you're going to get. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and on the right-hand side, choose download. I'm going to get information saying, do me a favor, please follow us and please give us credit where credit is due. Makes sense. I'm going to save it in a directory that I know on my desktop, and I'm going to go to that directory. I'm going to open it up here. Happen to be using Mac. Not a big deal if using anything else. This is a zip file. Even a Chromebook will be able to be used to do what we're doing today. I'm going to double click on it on Windows. On Mac, it allows me to simply unzip it. On Windows, you would right click on it. On Chromebook, you would double click on it and then extract it from a different which way. I've now created a directory, and inside this directory is essentially the index.html that we're looking for. And all sort of these basic assets and images that will be in your, be referred to in the index. Now, like I reminded you, I'm going to click on one of the images. It's going to show up on a different window here. Let me bring it up here. And this wonderful picture of this lady is now this blank canvas. Nothing went wrong. They just don't want to provide you with the images about this. In fact, I'm going to double click on the index.html. A new web page will come in there, and you'll note that it's pretty much basically the same thing. I'm going to scroll down, and there's more to it, this website. It's the reason why I chose it. But you'll see that it's exactly the same thing you saw, just simply without the stock photos that they did not have the license for. They have a license to show in their website, but not to give it to you for free. So, looks good. Overall, this is way too much for all we need. What I'm going to do is probably going to leave the contact form, perhaps. Maybe I won't, because of the fact that this particular video was for a basic website. It's easy enough to point the form to somewhere that has some way for you to submit the emails to us. I'll just probably have this as 2 sections. You'll see that this is kind of one section. This is kind of another section, sort of a div. And this is kind of a 3rd section. And what they do is the background images makes it seem like there's no break between these 2 sections. But there is. You'll see. Okay, so let's start using it. What do I do to start using it? I'm going to go to that directory. Here I am in the DOS prompt or terminal window if you're on Linux or Chromebook or Mac fan. I'm going to go into the directory that we were talking about there in a second. Here's my directory. Here's the 2-zip, there's 1 zip file, and the HTML file. I'm going to go into the HTML5 up there and all that. Now, of course, what you would ideally want to do is sort of rename this. Know that, you know what? Let's do that. Ideally, nothing. Let's do it for real. We have this particular domain name that we like, Pin Slip Connections. Check it out if you do after this video. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and look at this directory, right? So this is the directory. I'm inside that directory. Let's go ahead and rename it. Don't worry about the commands. You can understand that the directory, which used to be called HTML5 up. So let's try that, HTML5 up. Oop. I'm going to rename it. In Linux world, it's just move HTML5 up. And I'm going to name it similar to the domain name, just to remind myself where I'm talking about. Okay, so now I have the original zip file still there. If I make a mistake, we can just go back in there. But now my new directory matches my domain name. This is not important and will not help us in any which way, but you'll see that it is doing something there. Now, here are the directories, and I may want to go ahead and push it up that way. And we may be able to do that, but just because, after all, we are developers, we're going to go ahead and start Visual Studio with that section in there in mind. In any one of the programs, it opened up in another window down here, so I'm going to move it up here for you guys to see. Oh, getting a little bit of a technique that you can see when this video happen based upon what I'm doing up here. So remember, the basics of this website is that it usually has one single HTML file, an index.html file, which is, of course, is the first one, and some assets and images. And I'm going to keep them up there, sort of quickly rename the title image to the domain name we're talking about, perhaps name it again up here, and sort of, without even thinking too much about it, combine some of these things in here, like meet every Friday on Zoom, some great companies that are ready, that are as excited about meeting you as you are to find your next job. That's pretty much what the event is about, and so now you know. As you can see here, there's a beautiful little sort of design pattern to this. If you look carefully, the sections that I was talking about is these sections. The left of the section appears in this header section, and the content appear in the other one. So I'm going to remind you this by going ahead and copying and pasting this word right here. I'm going to go back to the website and just remind you what we're looking at here. Okay? I'm going to go Control F and look for it's on the left-hand side. So as you remember, the beautiful lady's midriff here is above on the right-hand side is an image. The content is on the left and that's on the right. So this is one section. This is another section. What does that mean? It means I'm not going to too much detail. What What it really means is I can go ahead and say those two sections are okay. That's plenty enough for me. I can go ahead and comment the rest, or heck, this is a fancy window. Oh my God, they've commented some of themselves. And I'm going to go ahead and comment most of these sections out. Okay, I'm going to save it, and just for making sure everything looks good, I'm going to double click one more time on the saved file. We talked about it a little while ago. So here's my text. The picture is on the right. Remember that picture was a white picture, and we can look into some certain pictures about it. And the text on the right-hand side, the second section, and that's it. There's no more section. I'm keep on scrolling. There's nowhere to go. So I'm going to go to just for... you can understand that I would normally go to some stock photos, type in free stock photos, follow their way of saying that there is that they want to share that information, the contribution that they gave you these two stock photos, place them in there. By the time you'll see it on the website. But overall, this looks good, because this video wasn't too much about making the website, but just that concept of going to HTML5 up. So a reminder, HTML5up.net. Not saving. Website looks good. How do I host it? Well, I'm going to go ahead and pay a bunch of people to host it and help someone. No. Way too much effort. The next service that I want you guys to be aware of, other than HTML5 up and some free stock photos and some places like LinkedIn and this wonderful event that Robin created, is the search website. We will talk about what it is in just 1 second, but just know that this is how we're going to host the website for free, for life, without any problem, an incredibly easy way to do it. If you have Node installed, Node is unfortunately required for all of our things that we do as web developers, as programmers, because it has a lot of great tools. One of them is search. You just follow this instruction right here, npm install grow. I can tell you that is something I've already done. I don't need to do it each time. It is simply an application that lives on our computer that lets us do what we're about to do. Don't worry too much about the fact that it aired out. It's a Mac, so everything on a Mac has to be done as an administrator, at least on my Mac. And every single time you type password, you're supposed to type the right one. Let's pretend I did it the first time. Okay, so remember, I'm just doing this for you. You would normally do this once you have Surge already installed. There's nothing to worry about. Let's look at it one more time. I'm going to make it nice and big here. I'm in my Pinks Slip connections. I'm comfortable with the way the website looks right now. I feel it's a good website, and I'm going to simply type in search. That's it. The command was installed with a line that you see kind of through the screen on the inside, and it has a bit of information. Now, there's one more trick just before we go. I'm going to add one file in there, which I forgot. I'm just going to call it CNAME. Now, CNAME is sort of a special word, and that name is about the domain name. And I'm sorry, yes, the domain name. And you'll see that a lot of different files, once you name a file called CNAME, capital C, N-A-M-E, and no extension in any browser or any operating system, you will see that if you put your domain name in there, a lot of different services will look at that and right away know what to do. Surge is one of them. So again, we've changed the the index.html file to make it look exactly what we're looking for. We can go ahead and clean up a little bit of the mistakes we did. And we made a CNAME file that matched the domain name, the full qualified domain name, without the www or anything about it, and in there. If you do have a subdomain name, if you're adding a blog or an about subdomain, about dot, well, that's not normal, but say a blog dot, something like that, then you can also add that as a subdomain name. But really, it's the website we're talking about without the www part. Getting back to that. So let's recap what we've done. We've installed Surge. We found the domain name. And we'll do something to the domain name that we haven't yet. This is something that's coming. We've looked for HTML5up.net. We've looked up for the particular template, the free template that we liked, and we downloaded it. We edited it to custom match what we want as to represent for us on the domain name. And now we went into that directory and we typed in Surge. Surge will ask you certain questions, and there are command lines that if you wish to automate this, you can sort of skip ahead, but it's asking, is the project that we're in the right one? You know what? It is. And then it happens to look at the domain name and see that there's in the directory there's a CNAME file and understand that the domain name's in there. And it's already up there. It's done. But of course, we haven't pointed the domain name to it. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this IP address because we'll need it in just a minute. Then I'm going to go back to my GoDaddy. Just happens to be your GoDaddy. You can use whatever one you wish. GoDaddy had a good deal, and I took it. In the GoDaddy profile, as with anything else, there's always an option for DNS. It might be a little bit dug into your particular domain name, or person of choice or company of choice, but in ours it's pretty easy. What we're going to do is we're going to change the A record. In domain names, if you don't already know, please excuse me if you do, but the A record represents the main website. In other words, something that specifically when you go to www.yourwebsite.com or just simply yourwebsite.com, it will be the one that's coming there. And if you look at it here, it says A, at, don't worry about the at, and it means everything. And it means that we want to change that. I'm going to change it in GoDaddy from parked, again, it's probably different on yours, to the IP address that we got in there. And I'm simply going to click on Save. And it will allow me to do that. What Surge suggests is that you don't put in the IP address, but instead put in this this sort of CNAME version of it. And CNAME is another way of saying, just follow what they're doing. And essentially just saying, my domain is hosted by them, Surge in this case. So you can understand that that's another way of doing it. GoDaddy does not let me do this. I can actually try to see if we are allowed to do this. So that would be where we can see this CNAME, and it's pointing to the to the main address here. But we could change the A record or put in a CNAME for @ We won't play around with it too much because at this moment, we're done. I'm going to go ahead and right click on that. And I'm going to say, go to the website. Magically, the domain name we purchased 5 minutes ago has a website, has a professional looking website, has everything going for it, and I'm done. I have paid $10 to $11.99 to be precise, or you may have paid more or less for the domain name. You have purchased it from somebody for $10,000. You have gotten maybe a deal for $1. Regardless of it, you can instantly, within whatever the 5 seconds we've been talking, 17 seconds. Oh my, I do like to talk, don't I? 17 seconds we've been talking so much, 17 minutes, pardon me. You have a website and you're good to go. Now, if that's all you needed, thank you for coming later. Some of you guys tell me the following. Damien, I read Surge.com and it is simply a static website host. Now, I will remind you that, for example, with things like Firebase, your static website may be React, Vue, my favorite, Angular. Now, your static website is now hosting a dynamic website. A dynamic website as good as Facebook.com. It is, after all, works that way. They actually do serve a static web page, and then they connect to API endpoints and other websites that give you information. I may, for example, use Heroku or now.com or my favorite Azure or AWS to create functions that will also be free for you to host. Those functions may include information like dynamically pulling the latest event for this wonderful organization and figuring out when the next one's happening. Figuring out how you, when you submitted your form, to submit information to a database so that the organizers can contribute to your contribution, to be able to say, we'll match this person with this wonderful other person, which is what the connection is all about. Now, enough about that. Here's one last thing you could do. That's where the static website ends. And I've solved the problem of being able to host it. Again, at this moment, if I've solved the problem, please stop watching. And thank you. If I haven't, and you say, Damien, I wish there was a way for me to do this with .NET, or we'll get to that. With how about now? The Zeit.com or now.sh, which has now been renamed to make it even more complicated. I don't like this part. Vercel, whatever that means, is now an amazing product. Vercel. I may not like the name, but I like their services. I love their services. Now is very similar in what they do. What I can actually do is I will go back to in here and just type in now, similar to how I did it search. Now, let's make something very clear. I will go ahead and set to deploy, yes. On my account, yes. Link to existing project. I have several. I don't need to. What is the project's name? That's a good project name. Which is a directory? The following. That's a lot more questions, but they're asking them only once. They'll be saved in a file there. Do you want to override the settings? Yeah, that's fine. Build command, up a directory. Well, deploying, inspecting. Okay. Now, I won't go too much into it because it gets a little bit complicated, but if you look at it carefully, what we've now released is a new directory. Instantly, this directory is available for you. I'm going to open it in a new tab over here. There it is. There's the exact same website. And you're not, Damien, but that's not your domain name. That's true. There are steps similar to what we did with search, and they're a little bit complicated, but not too much, where we can say, you know what, now you, now.sh, can host it. But for now, now.sh looks very similar, except I'm complaining a little bit about the name and what other extra steps you have to do and a bunch of things in there. But here's the special thing about now.sh. They will host your full node code. Yes, the full node code, everything. So now your application can be an express, sophisticated or functions website with calls and intelligence in there. In fact, this could be the API endpoint. And following a little bit of instructions from now.sh, they'll be up there. Here's the last thing you can think about. Also, there are other services similar to this. And the most famous one is that started it all is Heroku. Heroku, I won't go too much into it, but will do the exact same thing. And just as a reminder, Heroku will also host your own domain names. So pinkslipconnections.com can be hosted at Heroku with .NET, Python, Ruby on Rails, C#, Java. You can see them on the bottom. All those options come in there, and they're all free. Other services would be also functions and all that. I simply showed you the easiest ones to get up there. Now, now.sh, with just a little bit of changes, would be able to do a full Angular website with a little bit more sophistication and a little bit more changes. But as I wanted to remind you, with a little bit of Vue, with a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of vanilla JavaScript, or Angular, you could have the static web page point out to your Firebase or Heroku or your friend's API endpoint, which will do this type of things in there. And now we're done. We've taken this wonderful idea that, again, Robin just sort of put together, and for her great friends at Magic Leap, and expanded it to the whole world. So hopefully you will find this video because you were interested in the care that Robin has put and the amazing people involved in this amazing community. But if not, if you just learned how to do your basic website layout, I'm okay right now. My name is Damien Montero. BocaJS is what I organize. And these are podcasts is what I love doing. Thank you for listening.